Welcome to String Theory with Anthony Douglas. I am your host, Anthony Douglas. At any rate, we've been talking about reinventing yourself and some of the positive things that can come when the industry changes. And because I've been in this thing for decades, I've seen the industry change, a lot. And not just a lot, but out of nowhere, it'll just change and I'll have to reinvent myself. Sometimes I'm working on that wardrobe, In 1990, the rough year, I began also with a lady. Her name was Mickey. She was a keyboard player. I had a daytime job roofing, so I would roof all day long, every day, and then all night long doing the music. And so Mickey called me up one day. I was on the roof. Now, this is before we had, these types of phones. There were no flip phones. There were no cell phones. There was no Android phone. There was none of these types of devices or computers or anything like this. I mean, we had computers, but they were just ridiculously primitive, to say the least. At any rate, so she calls me up when I'm on the roof in the house, at the house that I'm working on, and the people there, they walk out, they say, "Hey, there's a phone call for you," and it's a lady. So apparently my mom had called Mickey, my mother had called the roofing company that I work for, and then they had given her the phone number to the people where I was working. At any rate, so I go down the ladder. I talk on the phone, and she's, I want you to come out on this gig tonight. Can you make it? All this stuff. I said, yeah, sure, I'll be there. And I showed up on the gig, and it was just a duo, just her and me, which was perfect, really, because incorporating this in with all my other gigs, to help reinvent myself. And a lot of the stuff I had to, not wear my Western hat, and I had to wear slacks. And so I had to reinvent the wardrobe, because I was used to wearing Western hats and, looking very roughneck. But, now I'm reinventing myself. I'm having a softer look, a softer tone. Which was perfect. And her and I got along quite well. She was drunk all the time. On the gigs, and sometimes she'd show up to the gig drunk. But she had a good winning personality, and this type of thing. So it worked out. And, if she was loaded on the bandstand, a 19-year-old and a woman that's in her 60s or maybe even early 70s, this is going to be hilarious to the audience. So it worked. She would show up in her Buick in this, fur jacket. And I said, "Hey, Mickey, would you like me to help back that trailer?" Because she was towing a band trailer with her Buick. And she said, "I'll have you know, sweetheart, I've been backing trailers from before you were born." So I was like, all right. Okay, you just backed the trailer. And she did, drunk. She just backed the trailer right in there. It was amazing. And we would work Elks Lodges, we would work Moose Lodges, we would work, and this was perfect for, all my gigs that I had, like my A gigs around town, or even, like what we were talking about, my A gigs, which turned into some of my live performances, which turned into dance venues. So, which also were A gigs. They were very good around town. So, I'd work, both venues, and it was great. I had my own band. I had Mickey. I had a radio driver that I was working with. I had, and so that's what you want to do is, when things come in like that and take your jobs away, you want to be able to reinvent yourself. Now, as these other, jobs were becoming more unavailable, I was able to work my way into Elks Lodges, Moose Lodges, and this type of thing. And so the bar venues then went to the excuse me, the karaoke scene. And I'm not going to say that I still didn't work taverns and bars, but it wasn't quite the smaller venues, I should say. It wasn't quite as much, with everything else that I had going on. So things began to even out, and we got work again and everything. But, bouncing into today where you're at, where I'm at, I'm doing that right now. I'm reinventing myself. I've got this YouTube channel going. I've got some things that I'm trying out with my Bose system as a single, by reinventing myself and coming up with live performances, putting some of these live performances out on YouTube so that you can see them. We've got some, some in my short videos and some in my video section, but we've got some that are that I've some are songs that I've been working on, rehearsing them up, and putting my own slant to them and keeping them commercial and this type of thing, and for an audience. And there's a lot of people out here today that, they're going to tell you, well, shred less, as a rock musician, don't take such long solos, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. And yes, that can work in a situation in clubs and stuff, and but also I've seen it go the other way. I've seen banjo pickers get out there and just make girls go crazy where people didn't think the banjo could do something like that. It's all in whose hands it's in, and just who gets to do what. So I think some of these other video, not putting them down or anything, just saying some of them, they kind of rain on your parade a little bit, and I'm going to give you a little bit more hope than that. I'm going to just say that sometimes taking less solos is the ticket in the venue. Sometimes going to a venue and being eye candy, even if they don't want you to play, you're just pretty much there for eye candy, then just you do whatever is right for the gig. However, there can be some situations where it's going to lend a shredding situation with your buddies, and this type of thing. And I've seen some people shred on every instrument. I don't care if you're playing the flute. It can be super cool. The banjo can be super cool. The fiddle can be super cool. The steel guitar can be super cool. I've seen bassists come out there and just land a bass solo and just slap it to smithereens. I've seen some stand-up bass and some electric bass, and there's just I've seen some talent that's amazing out there. So don't give up your dreams. Don't give up your goals and some of your things. However, with me saying that, when you're crossing over into other music, so let's just say you've been a rock musician, now you want to try country. You don't need to play all the time, honestly. You let other musicians play, so and enjoy that. Really, when they're shredding and they're soloing, wish them the best. Get out there and send some love across the stage, and take your hands off the strings. Show them you're not playing. Do what professionals do. Take a drink. Smoke the cigarette a little bit. Wipe off the strings. Get ready for your next solo. When somebody's soloing, you don't need to be filling. He didn't play for a while there, so I decided to fill in a little. Well, don't do that. There's a reason that they probably, decided to tuck back, because they've got it into their head what they're going to do in their solo. So there's no reason to interrupt it. And, I don't tolerate jealousy. I can tell you that right now. I don't tolerate things like that. People that are mean or jealous, or they've got some ulterior motive to hurt the band in some way, or they want to elevate themselves. No, we're all in this thing together. We're all in this team together. We all support each other. But when it is your turn to play, don't hold back. Don't listen to some people out there and say, he just hardly played. No, play. Now if there's complaints, you're too loud or something, yeah, tuck back. But play with confidence. Even if you are going to play a light, easy thing, something pretty maybe, do it with some confidence, and be out there and make it special for the audience, make it special for the people. Now if you are in one of those venues where you are expected to just not solo or solo very little, then put a big smile on your face and be happy and enjoy everybody that you're around. And sunshine goes a long way in this business. What is it? Chocolate works a lot better than vinegar. So have a sweet attitude, and that type of thing. And if you are a jealous person, and you people know who I'm talking, if I'm talking to you and you are one of those people, maybe I can send a little love your way and just say, what? Just cool off. Start enjoying other people. And I can say this, that when I'm playing out there and I finish up a solo and I let somebody else take it, I'm wanting to hear them do great. I'm wanting to hear them do a solo that is amazing. Now if they sit there and they tell me, we want you to play chords in back of us, or we want you to do this, or we want you to do that, well then, then I'm ready to do that. And if I'm playing rhythm guitar and they're very well aware of it, then I'm going to do things with the rhythm guitar that not only is supportive but is seamless. It just, they feel great. Because I'm going to tell you this, we work in an industry that is very competitive, and those people down the street, they're paying attention. You might not think they are, but they are. And you might get a band that is working together, that is an effective fighting force together. And if you're out there coloring on top of somebody or noodling between something that somebody does, so if they're sitting there going, having a melody and they're going da 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 da, and you're like da 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 da, you're putting your things and you're not really letting them play, or you wait till somebody does some backup behind the singer, and when they start, then you start, to trip them up or something, because don't do that. What I'm trying to say to you is there's people down the street that are killing it, and they're working well together, and you want your fellow musicians to be playing at the very top of their level. And if they're playing at a higher level than you, then you know what? Get better, become a better musician, or go up to them and ask them, hey, I saw you do something that I really thought was cool. And if you're sweet and you're nice, 10 to 1, they're gonna show you how to do it. They're gonna do it. So, like I said, for those that maybe you've gotten in there, you've had aspirations to become Eddie Van Halen, or you've had aspirations to become Buddy Emmons on the steel guitar, or Mark O'Connor on the fiddle, or whoever, whatever, Brent Mason on the guitar. That doesn't mean you cannot become that. That just means that be thrilling. Be a thrilling person. Let these other people develop their musical gifts and their talents and enjoy them. And when you do start enjoying their gifts and their talents, I guarantee you, they're going to be thrilled to see you again, and you're going to get work. You're just going to get work all over town, and it's going to be great. And that can be a great way to reinvent yourself too, is just having a sweeter disposition, being easier to work with, and you know what? We all have to work on that. We all have to work on, not, when things aren't going our way, remaining a nice human being over that. So I hope this helps you and everything. I enjoy helping you and talking and everything. So like I said, jealous people, I've seen jealous people that are great musicians. They are great, but it's just something they got to work on, and I'm not saying you're an awful person or something, but just work on that. Just work on it. Just and I guarantee you that things will work out for you. And maybe you don't think they will, maybe this band isn't going to pick you up, but you were sweet anyway. And guess what? 2-3 years down the road, they're calling you. because they liked something about you and they enjoyed working with you. And it can be that way with club managers too. It can be that way with studio musicians, producers that are going to hire you. So it can be that way all the way around. Okay, well, I don't see any rides coming in here, and it's early in the morning and I have no gigs here in the morning. I've got a gig tonight, but I'm wanting to get a ride out of this place, and I'm kind of running low on supplies right now. So I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some eats, and I don't know, maybe some Monster drinks, stock the car of my necessities here, and I don't know, maybe a QT or a filling station or a traveler center, maybe a truck stop or something. I don't know. We'll figure this thing out. But in the meantime, until the next video, which could be pretty quick actually, like I said, just approach these things with love, reinvent yourself, and for heaven's sakes, don't let other people say that you can't be a shredder, okay? Don't let other people say that, you can't do the 64ths and you can't play 1,000,000 miles an hour and you can't. Yes, you can, okay? And if you're in a band where you can't, that's fine too, because just join a band or start your own band that does do things like that, and start working little gigs and book around that too, or do what I'm doing and get a Bose system and start experimenting. So don't stop experimenting and don't lose your joy for picking. All right, till the next time, if you like what you hear, hit like and subscribe. Okay.